I was 11 years old and had been to the Sunday afternoon matinee. And when my two uncles came to pick me up, I could tell by their faces something awful had happened. The Japanese have attacked Pearl Harbor. Everybody back at my grandpa's house were leaning into the radio, listening to everything. And it wasn't until the vote for war that I really got to know my grandfather. Everybody was bad-mouthing this woman, the only one who voted against going to war. And my grandpa says, well, that just tells me we need more women up there. And he always at the table would, in saying grace, he would often say, God bless the peacemaker from Montana. I knew about Jeanette Rankin, grew up knowing about Jeanette Rankin. And when I finally came to graduate school here, and I needed a little job, and I went down to the employment office to see what they had, and the man flipped through his Rolodex and he said, well, I said, I really need something secretarial, part-time like that. And he said, well, here's that old cookie old lady out in Watkinsville. Jeanette Rankin needs some help. And I said, Jeanette Rankin? It was a great experience. The last 5 years of her life, I was sort of a secretary, chauffeur for Jeanette Rankin.
Speechwriter.
Speechwriter. You know, one thing, I don't think I've ever had an opportunity to mention this before, but I'm so glad we've helped so many Native American Indian women. Because the last time Jeanette came to Athens, she sat on my front screened-in porch, and she was very pensive and almost weepy. She said she didn't think she'd get back to Georgia again, but she said, you don't know how hard it is to outlive your best friends and so many of your family, and I've outlived them all. And I haven't really done anything. I should have concentrated on the American Indian. I might have been able to accomplish something.
Oh, my word.
All of the founders were connected with the University of Georgia.
At that time, Athens was a very exciting place to be from the standpoint of women emerging into their own, women coming out from the shadows.
I certainly had some kind of ingrown feminism that I don't know exactly where it came from, except that I just always knew that I could do anything my brothers could do and do it better.
We weren't appreciated as women. We certainly weren't treated on an equal basis by any means legally. The Georgia legislature, for example, didn't pass the amendment that gave women the right to vote until 1970.
With the exception of Rita, we were all involved in the legal status of women in Georgia committee in the League of Women Voters in 1972.
Heather and Margaret Holt and Gail Dindy and I all became members of that group.
Around about the time that we were beginning to talk about the foundation, the Girl Scouts of America endorsed the Equal Rights Amendment.
And there was going on, not just in Georgia, but particularly in Georgia, a boycott of Girl Scout cookie sales.
Oh, that's
And we bought,
right.
we bought hundreds of boxes of Girl Scout cookies and gave them to nursing homes and daycare centers.
I had read in the papers in England that Jeanette Rankin had died. I ran into Rita and I said, well, you wouldn't believe, Rita was covering for her mom that day. I said, well, you wouldn't believe what I read in England. That Jeanette died in a tar paper shack and yada, yada, yada. And so then Rita proceeded to tell me the whole story and to say that she was in charge of this legacy.
I knew what her will had specified. She had built this structure on her property in Oconee County, a round house. She had said in her last will and testament that Hunt House was to be used to assist mature women workers.
Rita and Heather together came up with the idea of forming some sort of group and applying for that bequest in her will. I can't remember exactly all the ideas that came through, but as usual, there was, between the 5 of us, there was no lack of ideas. All sorts of things were put forth.
I myself, at one time in my life, needed some scholarships and some financial assistance for college.
I had to get scholarships, I had to get loans.
Well, there were probably a lot of women who wanted to further their education to increase their opportunities in life.
The idea was to sell the roundhouse property and the property contiguous to it. And we did, and we made $16,000 on the sale.
We've just been so fortunate. We've had a lot of help from the very beginning.
The Capri Pizzeria was on the east side of town. And when we decided we were going to do this, the first meeting that we had, the first formal meeting, eggplant parmesan coming up.
We had to get something to start the ball rolling, and so we passed around what had been the bread basket, and the bread was gone. We passed it around, and we all just put in whatever we had on us at the time, and not much.
We talked and talked and talked and talked about all the issues that came before us, and we never ever had a vote. I don't ever remember us making a motion and having a vote. We talked about things until we came to a consensus. Everybody's ideas poured in. Everybody felt they'd been heard.
I think that helped us arrive at the best solution, if you will, to whatever the issue was. I think that has been a tremendous strength for the start of the foundation.
We were always able to operate by consensus.
Oh yeah.
50 years, and it's still, we're still that way. We talk to each other, we listen.
We were able then, by 1978, to award this first scholarship for $500 to Barbara Robinson.
Our first award winner was a recent widow with two young children.
Pursuing nursing.
Right, pursuing nursing.
We still keep up with her. Both of her children went into the medical field.
It was really thrilling because we'd been working for years, I mean, by then, just to get the foundation up and running.
We had an application from a woman in the women's prison in Milledgeville, Georgia. She had been in prison for 8 years, and curiosity, you want to know why we're there, but we would not touch that. It didn't matter why she was there. She had paid her dues, and she had these wonderful recommendations, and we awarded her the scholarship.
We were one of the very first to focus in particular on mature women.
And Heather would always say, these women have grit.
A woman usually would not be applying for this scholarship if she had not had some hard knocks.
And we knew that by helping them further their education, that they would go on to give back to their communities as well.
I want to thank each one of you for being my friend and for enriching my life.
Amen.
Amen. Absolutely.
As we started this journey as young women.
The lasting legacy of my life is really going to be the Jeanette Rankin Foundation.
I feel the same. We have been able to make a difference. We have been able to make a difference.
I don't really believe that any of the 5 of us, had any expectation that the foundation would soar to where it is today.
I'm amazed at where we've come.
There's something about having a group of women friends that just bolsters one when times are difficult, especially. Just to listen.
I'm thrilled that, my path, my life's path, crossed the paths of these other 4 women, and that I've gotten to know most of them for almost 50 years, and we can all look back and say we made a difference. We did. And we're going to keep making a difference.